Was that?
Both mics are good?
Yep.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. Before we get started with another episode of CMO Weekly, have to give a big shout out to our sponsor, OpenFortune. OpenFortune flipped the fortune cookie on its head and owns 47,000 restaurants where the fortune cookies go inside, and there's ads on the back with brand creative as well. They work with ZipRecruiter, Zelle, Chime, Duolingo, and many more, providing an ultimate Trojan horse for marketers to use to reach their consumers. Shout out to OpenFortune for making today possible. Today, joining us today on CMO Weekly is Carla Weis. Carla is a creative dynamo and the mastermind behind the brand strategy at Docusign. As the head of brand and creative, she's the one making sure Docusign doesn't just deliver on contracts, but does so with style. With a knack for turning big ideas into reality, Carla leads a team that's all about shaping the company's global image from brand architecture to creative direction, ensuring Docusign's presence is as impactful as its products. Before she was rocking the brand world at Docusign, Carla was an agency owner, where she sharpened her skills in business development and strategy, partnering with heavyweights like Stripe, BlackRock, and Primer AI. She's always on the lookout for fresh ways to connect with the audiences, deliver value, and of course, make things look good. Carla's got some serious credentials too. She's an alumna of Seth Godin's Alt MBA program, and she has a shelf full of awards for her leadership and community service. But more than that, she's passionate about pushing the boundaries of what's possible in brand design, all while keeping things fun and innovative. So, Carla, thank you for joining me today. And I got to ask you, how'd you end up here?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. That's an amazing introduction. And as you mentioned, I got my start in the agency world. That was actually my first job out of college. And I was, just working my way up, and then eventually fell into agency ownership, which was an amazing, amazing experience. I owned my own agency for about 6 years. And we, like you mentioned, we had some amazing clients. We prided ourselves on doing really stellar work in the design and development space, specifically working for Silicon Valley customers. And Docusign became a client of ours actually in 2018. And by 2020, they asked us to come in-house. So we pivoted and decided to end our agency run and then go in-house and lead brand at Docusign.
Very, very cool. When growing up, was advertising a passion, or what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh my gosh. Well, I got bit by the advertising bug when I was about 13. I was in a focus group, and I used to live in the Midwest, and I was in a focus group for Procter & Gamble because they were marketing products to tween girls, and they would show us ads, and they would ask us what we thought of the ads, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And so almost from that moment, I was like, I'm hooked. I want to get into marketing. I want to get into advertising. Sure. And that's what I majored in college. And yeah, I just never
was there a
looked back.
specific brand that you remember, like either a commercial got you or something?
It was Herbal Essences shampoo by Procter & Gamble. At least back then it was. I don't know if there's still a subsidiary, but yeah, that was, I was hooked. I would buy that shampoo religiously. I was a total brand loyalist.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. And so you end up working on the agency side. It's something that you probably have always wanted to do, working in advertising. What was expectation versus reality when you stepped in those doors?
So going in-house was such a culture change. As an agency owner, you're gritty you're determined by
working
nature.
on a lot of projects.
Yeah, you work on a ton of projects. You're seeing across multiple different brands. You're worried about, bringing in new business, keeping the clients you have happy, and so on. And in some ways, that was very similar to going in-house at Docusign. We still have what I like to call internal clients. But, it was now working within this corporate machine and also teaching people that brand and creative matters. Because at the time, Docusign is hardcore B2B SaaS. Brand and creative was kind of, at the time, a little bit of an afterthought. We'll turn out some white papers, we'll turn out some web landing pages, that kind of thing. But it wasn't much more than that. And so it's been a really amazing journey over the last 4 years to really build a full brand team.
Yeah. How did you go about, just educating them on that brand and creative is important?
Yeah. So we were really blessed that the leadership of the company understood that they were lacking in this area and that they could do more. And they didn't really know how. So they were thinking okay, we'll have you come in, report into the CMO. I report in now to our president of growth, which is essentially a CMO on steroids. And we basically, through a lot of trial and error, built a really fantastic team. We're still a small team. We're a lean and nimble team of 17. But we just focused on getting A-plus talent in the door. That was a huge factor for me. So the first year was really about building the team, because now it's like 17 dynamos, who can go out and like just get shit done.
Absolutely. And so managing creative as well as brand in a B2B space is really interesting, right? How does it differ compared to your normal B2C?
Yeah, so in a B2C market, they most of the time they get brand. And even back in my agency days, I worked for, a lot of consumer packaged goods companies, Black & Decker, and also P&G. I was from Ohio, so there's like these amazing Midwestern brand cultures. And so when I pivoted to tech and to like the Silicon Valley area, I was like, holy crap, there's no brand like knowledge here. It's just kind of like, it's all about product market fit and first mover advantage, and that's all awesome, but it doesn't really help you build like a brand that's going to last for, hopefully beyond 50 years or more. And so at Docusign, we are in early days, but we're moving up funnel, and we're playing around more with like up funnel creative, telling different stories, making it more about the full customer journey and less about like, hey, you're just going to sign this one document one time, because that's what obviously people know Docusign for, but there's so much more that we do.
Sure. And when you talk about top funnel creative, like what are some of the like fun things or stories that you told that you really are proud of?
Yeah. So we just launched a major first brand campaign this year, and it's all around what we call the agreement trap. And so the creative is really unique and compelling. It's basically a professor. He is in space, and he is in the black hole or cosmic vortex where all the agreements go to die. So we're telling this story about how the data within your agreements is lost, because that's what happens to all of us, right? You sign an agreement, you shelve it away somewhere, either physically, hopefully not physically anymore, but digitally. It might be on, a Google Drive or a Dropbox, but do you really know where your agreements are? Do you know what's in them? And so many people have that problem. And then when you talk about a major business like a Walmart or, a healthcare organization, these large entities, they have literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of agreements. So the problem is really massive. And when you can attack that with some powerful AI tools as well, it's just a really incredible opportunity.
A little bit before the podcast, but Docusign is really a verb, right? When I use Docusign or I use a competitor of Docusign, right? I'm always saying, can you send me this Docusign, right? And there's not many brands like that have that just aligned with them, right? What are the positives and negatives of having that?
I mean, the positives cannot be understated. We're a 22-year-old brand, which in tech is pretty old. and we have a rich history and legacy, but we're still innovating. So that sort of like innovative spirit back from when we were founded in 2003, it still exists. And so, it's really big. I'll keep pushing that innovation.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we need to tell the world that we're more than e-signature alone, because we do so much more now. So a lot of people don't know, but we have, electronic notarization. We have ID verification. If I need to see your driver's license, there's so much more that goes into agreements than just the signature.
Amazing. And when, head of brand and creative is such a dynamic role, right? You have to be, managing the whole brand and being the brand police, but also coming up with content and taking yourself in that creative ideation. What are some of the, how do you get into that headspace when creatively ideating, and how do you allow that to succeed for your employees as well?
Yeah, so being that we're a small team, we have this really close-knit community within the team, and we do a lot of things that push the envelope intentionally. So on Fridays, we'll have like a hackathon day where we all go in and attack a problem together. But then on the flip side, you mentioned brand police, and that is totally true, but I kind of hate that stereotype because I hate slapping wrists. But one of the things we do is we'll try to go out and proactively evangelize the brand to the employees, because we're 17 people, but the company is like 6,000.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge company. So we built tools actually to scale the brand so that it's not all just like in my head or in the team's head. It's out there. So, people listening to the podcast could go check out brand.docusign.com and really learn all about the brand. We've got a great little website that shows it off.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely link that and check that out.
Yeah.
I'm curious, from your agency days when you're starting your own thing, being a small business, right? I've ran my own production agency, so I know the pain and also how fun it can be, right? What did you bring from that into, going in-house?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question, and I think about it a lot, actually. I think one of the things that agency life teaches you, and why I recommend that path for a lot of young creatives, is you learn to sell. You learn to sell really well. You pitch all the time. And that is something that is a valuable skill, no matter if you're in-house or at an agency.
Everything's sales still.
Everything is sales. And so if you can learn to pitch and sell yourself and sell your ideas, that goes a really long way. And then I also think a lot about, the agency mind. You are looking at multiple brands and trends. And I think when you're in-house, the risk is you can get really myopic in your viewpoint. And so if you can keep yourself fresh by understanding what's going on out in the industry and with other brands, I think that's a really amazing skill set. But personally, I actually really love being in-house because, the average agency engagement is only 2.5 to 3 years.
Yes.
And whereas when you're in-house, you're a diehard. You're living and breathing that brand, and, it's your bread and butter. And so you've got to care about it like it's your baby, and agency life is a little different that way.
I'm a big fan of Seth Godin. I've never heard of the Alt MBA program. I've read a couple of his books. Hopefully one day we'll have him on the podcast. What was that program, and what did you get out of that?
Oh gosh, what a good question. So I did the Alt MBA in 2018. I actually think they've sunsetted the program.
Yeah, they did. I checked it out. No longer.
Yeah, and it was this amazing. So I've always wrestled with should I go back to school and get an MBA? But obviously there's time investment, there's cost investment, and that's the right path for a lot of people. But I watched my husband go through a traditional MBA and just kind of knew that wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
So I did this program. It was an accelerated sprint. It was literally 1 month, and it was every single day of that month. So you had class every single day. The program, I think the classes were 3 to 4 hours every day, and that's on top of your work. So I was working all day and then doing the class at night. And then you ship work every Sunday. You ship these major projects. And one of Seth Godin's sort of mantras or teachings is, you need to ship, and you need to ship frequently. And that's something I really believe in, because...
And what does that mean?
Shipping frequently is really your work doesn't count until it meets the public, right?
Sure.
So if I'm working on, even this podcast, it doesn't count until it's on Spotify.
Sure.
Or if you're building a website, it doesn't count until it's launched. And so... especially in, corporate settings, but a lot of companies, it's just we're going to work on this thing, we're going to build and tinker it. But Seth is really about shipping and shipping quickly. And so just so in the program, you ship your work every Sunday. So you have a major deliverable due every Sunday. It gets graded by your peers. They give you live and real feedback. So it's very much like the real world, as opposed to a classroom setting. And so, Seth is somebody I've followed for a long time. He has, one of his books is called Linchpin, and it was one of my favorite books. Linchpin is all about, how to really set yourself apart as truly what the title indicates, a linchpin organization, rather than settling to be a cog in the machine. So, I would recommend all of Seth's work, though, to be fair.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any just creative campaigns that you're super excited about launching in the future?
Yeah. So depending on when this airs, we actually just wrapped up our time at Dreamforce, which is Salesforce's major conference. And we're deploying a new character for Docusign. And this is something really interesting and very anti-B2B, or, a lot of B2Bs wouldn't do this, but we have essentially what is a mascot for Docusign now. He is a character named Carl. He's the professor I mentioned earlier. He started just in one commercial for us, but we actually brought him to Dreamforce, which, if you know anything about Dreamforce, it's a very fun, vibrant event. So he really met the moment. And Carl is somebody we hope to leverage a lot in the future to build on as a character for Docusign.
What did that ideation process look like when you were creating Carl?
We were trying to I mentioned the story of the agreement trap. And the agreement trap is, again, where all of that great, rich business data inside of your agreements goes to die. And so we needed someone to tell the story. We needed someone who could represent the problem that was happening in a real, authentic way. And so we thought, well, what if he's kind of nerdy, right? What if he's kind of like really smart, but like a little like comedic, but dry comedy and witty. So we went through about 3 different iterations of this, and we really liked this concept of, the vortex in space where, matter in space is going to die and sort of getting sucked into this black hole. And so Carl comes in and he tells this story, and he's with a woman who owns a business, and he's telling her, hey, all this great data is going to die. And so when you look at, you asked about B2C, when you look at B2C, they've done this for a long time, right? Like they've had characters for a long time. The Pillsbury Doughboy, Progressive's Flow, like Geico Gecko, we could go on. And we're really excited about this because as part of our rebrand back in April, we built a new personality for Docusign. Even before we invented Carl, we built this brand personality that was going to be centered around being a sage, being a magician. And so it was, your listeners might be familiar with brand archetypes, and that's what we used.
I was going to ask you about this.
So
where did you fall on the spectrum?
So we are dominantly sage, followed by ruler, hero, and then magician. So we picked 4 in order. That's the priority order. So sage is you're the smartest, you're the one people look up to. Ruler is what people naturally think of Docusign. It's the name brand that signers know and love. Hero is all about being in our customers' corner and coming to help them when they need it the most. And then lastly is magician. And magician is where, our AI story really comes to life, where it can feel truly magical to use Docusign products.
Yeah. And it's such a fun activity to bring yourself through, right? You're creating this character. I'm curious, is there, who would Carl hang out with? Like, what kind of celebrity?
Well, probably Neil deGrasse Tyson would be up there.
Smart but witty and witty.
Smart, witty, professorial. He's probably attracted to people who are experts in their domain. So you might be a fabulous top-tier Michelin chef, or you could be a wine sommelier, but he's wanting to hang out with people who are the best of the best and have similar sort of almost like obsessive, I guess would be the word about the topic at hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I'm curious, back to, your new top funnel approach with Carl and the thing.
Yep.
How are you defining success there, right? It's very easy with B2B to get, and B2C marketing just to go really into growth, right?
Yeah.
Understand performance, right? Dollar in, dollar.
Yep.
$1.20 in, dollar out, right? You're winning. Curious how you're viewing top of funnel.
I mean, so, again, you have this amazing legacy of a brand, right? 22 years. Docusign is pretty much known for one thing. We're synonymous with the e-signature. But as I mentioned, there's so much more to it. And I believe there's such a good story to tell about our full platform. So we've launched a new platform just a few months ago called Intelligent Agreement Management. And one of the things I'm looking for as a brand leader is to literally hear people say those words back to me. So if I can go to our customer base and, even the loyalists who've used Docusign for so long, and we're marketing to them, we're telling them this new positioning, if they can then repeat it back to me through focus groups or other surveys, then I think we're on the right track.
Yeah. I'm curious, right? We've talked a lot about your success within all these different jobs with Docusign. What's one thing that, as a marketer that you are trying to work on?
Oh, I mean, I love continual improvement. I think that's clutch for anyone in a leadership role.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to work on sort of, I guess, being a great leader for my team. I think I check the box a lot of times, but other times I want to, there's always so much more I want to do. I feel so blessed to lead them. They're just an amazing team. But then also, just as critically, if not even more so, is building cross-functional relationships within such a large organization. Because when you represent the brand, it's, in the past, the brand and creative was really relegated to just marketing.
Yeah.
But now brand needs to influence the full business. And so for that, it's, reaching across the aisle, going out and meeting people, going to other team meetings, spending time with, maybe somebody in product or sales or customer success. Totally. So that's huge.
I got one question before we enter our quick question round. We talked a lot about your work, but I want to talk a little bit about Carla, what you're proud of in your personal life and what you're working on there.
Oh my gosh. Well, my personal life is very rich. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, which is incredible. We met in high school, and I won't say our age, but we've stayed together a long time. And we have 2 little dogs. We actually live here in Arizona, where BrandWeek's being held.
What kind of dogs?
We have Papillons, which are tiny
Very
little
cute.
shaggy
Yeah,
dogs.
I know.
Yeah, they're great. Charlie and Jack. They keep us on our toes. And then having moved to Arizona from the Midwest, I spent a lot of time in nature. Love to hike. The mountains around here are amazing.
Camelback.
Yeah, the mountains are incredible. And I feel like you really can't beat the desert. Like there's nowhere like the desert in the United States. And then I love Mexican food. So, I mean, obviously, again, living here, it's like we recently took a class on how to make homemade tortillas. That was so good. They're like, definitely go check that out. You used to make your own tortillas, easy and way, way better. And then, I think, that's about it. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. Before we get into our quick question round, I got to give a big shout out to these guys at OpenFortune. They turned the fortune cookie on its head. Fortune cookie you know and love. Through owning the distribution through 47,000 restaurants, reaching 99% of zip codes. They've given marketers the opportunity to put their brand messages on the back of these and reach millions and millions of consumers every month. So they've worked with the likes of the ZipRecruiter, Chime, Duolingo, Verizon, and many more. So shout out to OpenFortune for making today's episode possible. Now we're going quick.
Okay.
Person you most want to sit down to dinner with?
Barack Obama.
Okay, let's see. That's a live person. What about somebody dead?
Oh, gosh. Freud.
Favorite city in the world?
Warsaw, Poland.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I was just in Poland 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
As in Wrocław.
Yeah.
Is it okay to sleep with socks on?
Only when it's really cold.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Favorite rom-com?
Oh, I love rom-coms.
there you
The
go.
Intern with Anne Hathaway.
Best spot in Arizona to eat?
To eat is definitely Tucson in general. It's a city of gastronomy ranked by the New York Times.
What about a restaurant in Tucson?
Mindedito in Tucson is one of the oldest and tiniest Mexican restaurants. It's amazing.
Favorite Wright State graduate?
It's me.
Yeah. In 40 years, what will people be nostalgic for?
In 40 years, people will be nostalgic for, I think, pre-social media days.
Literally. Top 3 CMOs right now or brands?
Dara Tresder at Autodesk. She's
I've heard that
incredible.
multiple times.
Yeah, I follow her closely. I think she's amazing. I'm really excited about what Coca-Cola is doing, actually. They have some really new cool initiatives surrounding waste and green energy, given that they're a consumable.
Yep.
And then I think in the software space, I really love what's happening from a brand side at Linear, which is a really small, newer startup, but they seem to be taking brand really seriously from the get-go.
What's one thing people don't understand about your job?
We can take feedback. Sometimes people don't like to give brand and creative people feedback, but I actually prefer it.
Totally.
So yeah, they usually
It's
shy
okay
away.
to hurt our feelings.
That's right.
Tell us the truth. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
To shrink myself and to tone it down.
Terrible advice. In one sentence, how would you sum up the internet?
A little bit wasteful.
Who's somebody you think should hop on this podcast?
Get more B2B SaaS folks. I think they have a really unique perspective.
Absolutely. And then lastly, in 10 years, where can we catch you, Carla?
In 10 years, probably a CMO somewhere myself. I probably will stay B2B side, though. I've kind of found a love for, selling to businesses and helping businesses with their business challenges. Consumer is cool, but, business people need help and love, too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was really fun.